70, that's the time I met Jim White. When I was staying in the main campus, because the facilities at Kabete were not there for students. And in reaching out to the students in the halls, that's the time I met Jim White. Jim White and the group, Dave Hall. And from there, we started getting mentored by them through Bible study. Those Bible study series were held at St. Andrew's Church, I think in the small old church. And that's where we formed a group, including Sarah Mwaiti those days, Waroiro, and many other people, Karengeve, Crispus Karengeve, Morage, although he was 1 year behind me. Kule was very good. We were really buddies with them. And also my wife was in that group, Naomi Wanjera. And we were meeting regularly to study the Bible. But the most important part of it, I remember 2 major events. We had a coffee house for the first year students, organized by Dave Hall. And we went there as students and performed. We had a hall over 500 students. And I would say that was the launch of the ministry, in the sense that the people who participated in the coffee house continued as the core group. That later on we formed a team that kind of stabilized the ministry within the university. Well, I think it was a very good opportunity to interact with foreigners. Although we had interacted with the foreigners in high school, because we are coming from a generation where we were taught by people from other countries, Americans, British, and so forth. But in the context of religion or faith, it was good to see people who are bringing the gospels close to us. And I remember those days, I met Dwayne Bunt, who was from Iowa. And later on, when I was going to US, I visited him in his home. He comes from a farming background. And I could see the impact on the relatives, his sister and others, just to meet with one of the core groups from Kenya. I think that was the first time the ministry landed in Africa, in Kenya, and we were the first fruit, as it were. You know, what impressed me and my colleagues those days was the approach to reaching out and mentoring young Christians, because I was a young Christian. And the fact that we had breakfasts, those were also places where we are coming together, strengthening one another as the core group. Sarah, Esther Waroiro, myself, Margaret Kangi, who is still teaching here in the university with us. Jenna Witty, who is still our friend, and she has been having impact in Daystar. Yeah, that was a very important group that we had. Ouma joined us from period Ouma. He came later. I remember we went to a retreat, the final retreat, that was at, is it Brackenhurst or one of the other places, where the whole core group were involved. And that is the time that we were making commitments, whether to go full-time with the ministry or to support the ministry in other ways. And I was explaining to Sarah, those days we were coming from very poor background, and we were the people who were targeted by our families to bring a bit of change. So, and the job opportunities were many. So it was a real choice, either to go full-time ministry and do your own fundraising. We did not understand what is self-fundraising. And with the government jobs, it was easier to go there first and see whether you want to make a commitment to come back. And so I decided to go on with my profession in agriculture, and I was posted way back in Makendo area, in dry areas there. But I still remember doing Bunt and a few people, I don't know whether it's Craig or another navigator, they came to see me in my new posting, which was very good, and I appreciated that. And we kept on. I was a bit isolated, but even there, I started a bit of a fellowship, which later on became a church. So because of my faith with other people. And then I went abroad. Of course, I got a little disconnected from here, but wherever I went abroad, the navigators were there. I went to the University of California, Berkeley, and I remember Jim White came to visit me in one of the service that we had. And I think there was also, and the navigators had a strong conference in Anaheim, California, and I was invited. I think I went there during those days. And so we continue to have a bit of contact. They are all very important people in this country. Me, I have gone on to teach in the university, to mentor people in the university. And that's one of the reasons why I have not changed my job for the 40 years I've been in the university, because of that interaction. And I'm an elder of the Presbyterian Church of East Africa, where I have served over 25 years before retiring. There are very few who have stepped back, but even if they step back, we still think the foundation they have should help them from going too far. It's a long history, because when I came back from US in 1980, I think I joined the board, the Kenyan board. And from 1980 to 2012, I had been in the board. And I just retired on 2012. So I took over from Katende as the board chair. And during that time, together with my colleague Mukorwe, we took a step of faith with him to bring this thing up. You know, there were a bit of voices of, can we make it? The new office broke. It's during the time we put it up. I think the good thing with the ministry over the years, I remember in the 80s, we are grappling with the issue of how can we have economic incentives so that people can start something on the side. So I remember I was one of the first people who got a loan from EPTF during our cut of Wanjao. I paid. I think I was going to keep pigs. And I did keep pigs when I was staying outside in the countryside. And there are other people who benefited from that thinking. So we started thinking of how do we support the ministry from not just from salaries or those who might be unemployed. And I served in that board for many years. Yeah, I remember we were really trying to make sure that this economic EPTF takes off. And I was a very strong believer that reaching out to the young people out there with the skills, like what we are trying to do in Eldoret and other places, is one way of the gospel reaching out. The other thing I can see is about raising funds to support the ministries, the people who are on full-time ministries. And one of the reasons why we put up this block is to make sure we get rent that can go to support the ministry and the administration. Because those days, I think we were depending more on gifts from the US. And I remember we discussed these things, and I give credit to either Bruce Van Wyk, because the buying of this property is during the time of Morage. And I'm happy to some organizations that they say, since you are living on donation money, you should not invest. So the fact that we bought this property has been actually an anchor for the work of the Navigators. And so I think I give Bruce Van Wyk and Morage credit for coming to buy this property, and then stayed for quite a while before development, and then finally we have that, and I'm very happy about that. I think we were proud of that, and we started owning the ministry. I'm sure some of the supporters who are there those days even came stronger to support. You know, the major challenge was how to support the young people who are coming up so that they can get rooted in the ministry. And I don't know to what extent we have solved that challenge, because I see, like, with the time, job opportunities for young people it's not as good as it was during our time. So we have gone through a time of when we could support using our salaries and employment to a time when there's a lot of unemployment, and it should be maybe much tougher now, given that the dependency ratio in Kenya, they say 25% of the population is supporting 75%. And if you are carrying out the ministry in that type of a setting, you see the struggles. I think I can say God's faithfulness in raising people to take over leadership. Because you see, that's very critical. If you don't have Akinasara and others who have that institutional memory and the vision, I think the vision is still much alive, is still much needed. We have Esther Waroiro, we now have the Mutua Mahiaine. We are part of the international globe. God has been faithful to us. You have reached out, just like what we were saying in the foundation years, that 1,000 shall get what? To 1,000. You know, God has been faithful. You are in Tanzania, you are in Botswana, you are in West Africa, you are everywhere, even in this country. So we can see God's work spreading out, just like what we were dreaming about those years.